Hello, my Teaserking family. Today it worked fine. My white light comes on for the cam, and 5 seconds I'm live. That's how it should be. Last time it was circling around for 20 minutes. Anyway, so the good news, transferred the money out of my IRA to my bank account. Did it late Sunday night because I saw gold wasn't running away. And I got an acknowledgement on Monday that it had done, and I had a tracking number. And today I looked in the morning when I woke up, and happy boy, all the money went to my bank account. I ran to the bank this morning. Like it opened at 9. I was there at like 9:05. Just very like, can I take the money out? And they go, yeah, sure, because it said pending on it. And sometimes they won't let you take it because it's pending, even though it's theoretically the balance shows it's good. So I went to, so they gave me the money. So I took two stacks. I watched her. I said, can I watch it go through the thing? She said, yeah. So I put it, so I watched it go through the machine. So, because I don't want to count it. You get home and you're $200 short. What are you going to do? Well, you didn't give me the right amount. Well, that's something you need to check there. So just FYI, whenever you get money, check it. Because if it's not there, what are you going to do? Run back? So it's your own fault if you don't check it. So went back and got it, and it's in the safe now. And I get my paycheck on top of it on Thursday, and then we're off to gold. Gold went down today. I'm happy. See, when gold drops, most people don't understand. When a price drops or a stock drops, you have to understand the mentality of it. So if you're buying Coca-Cola and you go, yeah, I really like this stock, when it drops, you buy it. You don't sell it. So everybody gets nervous when something doesn't go the right way. They don't understand it. So when it drops, people are scared. Oh my God, it's going down. Instead of, since we know COMEX is fixed, we know it's not free market. We know it's government price control. COMEX, JP Morgan, who runs the government. So when the price goes down, we know it's bullshit, right? It's a sale. So I'll probably go Friday, maybe Thursday if it really drops, but I don't anticipate it getting too low. And I'll buy a few ounces that, and it's just a dilemma. How many ounces do I buy? I'm doing popcorn now because I just got home, and it's kind of light. It's something I think I can eat, even though I don't want to eat this late. I am hungry. The problem is I had dinner at 3:00. I made hamburgers, and I made them early, and then by going to work out at 8:00, now I'm hungry. So if I really wanted to, I would just drink my water, but I don't mind. Just a second, let me get my popcorn. Okay, my Teaserking family, I am back, and Bobby Bo's here. I was making popcorn for you, Bobby. Let's have a little popcorn. Well, as I was saying, I got my money out of my E-Trade, my IRA. Did it Monday. Money's there today. Go to the bank. I'm worried about getting so much money out. And they said, well, normally you should call a day ahead so we could order the money, but they happen to have it. And I knew that's why I got there. It opened at 9. I was there by 9:05, 9:10, because I knew they didn't hand the money out yet. So I was able to move the money from Fifth Third, from E-Trade, my IRA, put it into my bank, and then now it's in the safe, waiting to buy gold, probably Friday. So as I was saying, you really need to understand. And if you understand what we're doing with gold and silver, and the price is down, it's a sale, right? I'm going to buy more because it went down than worry about why is the price dropping. Well, we understand it's price fixed. The price is coming from the government, not the market. As I showed you, the Willie Mays card or the Brady card or the Montana card, those are all from the market. Gold and silver are not from the market. If they were, they'd be nowhere near 2000. So when you see the price drop, it's a sale. I always laugh when I go in when it's low. I go, oh, you're putting gold on sale. And I think they thought I was crazy at first, but they're not thinking I'm crazy now. So we got 2 weeks for bricks. So the question is, how much gold do I buy? I pulled in a lot of money today. Plus, I get a paycheck on Thursday. So we can do some damage here. Now, even better, since I had the credit card had the trip to Barcelona, the trip to Lisbon, and a bunch of gold on it. And so I'm at Fifth Third today, and they have a 21-month 0% card. They won't charge you interest. So I signed up for that, and I'll move by one Chase card that I'm probably paying close to 20% on and just move it over into Fifth Third and divide it by 21, and that's what I'll pay. And then I have another Chase one that's not that big. So at least when I go on trips, I can still use the Chase card and then just pay it down. That's one thing you got to know. Well, this way I don't pay any interest. Now, one thing that Alligator told us, Alligator did a show the other day, and he said, since he was a banker, he says, call up your bank and say, can you give me some time with no interest? And he said they will do that because they want to get paid. They do not want to default on you, or they don't want to call your mortgage, right? They want you to pay your mortgage off. So if it's the interest rates hurting you and you say, can you turn off the interest rates or give me a break on them? He said they will do that. So if you have a mortgage and now the rates are going up, call them up, say, can you give me a hand? I'm paying the base, but this interest rates are killing me. Can you turn it off? And he said, more than likely they will turn it off because, again, as I've stated, they lend you $100,000. They want to get paid the $100,000, even in inflated dollars. So they'd rather get something than nothing, because if they default on you, they lose the $100,000. They don't want the house. They can't sell the house. They're not in the housing business. That's why I don't understand what BlackRock does. They're going to lose their ass, and I can't wait. I can't wait for them and Warren Buffett and Gates to all lose their ass in this thing. Yeah, the no interest is beautiful as long as you don't do what this one woman did. I know that maxed out, and now her zero interest part is done, and she's scared now. No. What I'm saying is call the bank anyway and say, can you turn off the interest? I know what you're talking about. You get 0% for, let's say, 18 months. What I'm talking about is your mortgage and or your regular credit cards. Ask for no interest on them, and they will do that more than likely. So even I know what you're saying. So mine's going to be a 21-month no interest, right? But my Chase card, I don't have a mortgage. My Chase card now, I can sit there and go, hey, Chase, can you kill the interest on it? And they'll give me maybe 6 or 9 months of no interest. That's what Alligator was saying, not the zero interest that now there's interest. Now what she can do is go and transfer it to another bank, another 0%. She can certainly do that. As far as the bank she took it from, they don't know. They'll see it paid off, and they'll be like, okay, she paid it off. So I would advise her to do that, Bobby. Just say, wherever bank she's at, if she's at Chase, Wells Fargo has it. This is Fifth Third. They have it. It was funny. When I got the money, they had to call the bank manager. She wasn't there. And I heard the lady say, no, I've seen him before. He's familiar. I mean, I was able to get the money out with no problem. And now it changed. When they used to ask for your license, now they ask for my debit card and my PIN number. So I put the debit card in, and I typed in my PIN, and I pulled it out, and I was able to get the money that way. So I don't know what's going on with using your debit card versus your driver's license. To me, it's the same thing. I don't really care. But that's what I did. So I did watch. There was an alligator on the other day. Let's see if we can find it. There's this one. This alligator, 12 minutes, was on the other day. Nothing we didn't already know. This one, no, this is the one. This one for an hour 7. He was on Palisades. I'm going to play 2 minutes of it.
We live in a fantasy world now.
Oh, duh. I'll just go to the gold part. Okay. All right, so this is Alligator talking about gold on this Pacific Palisades. It's like a show, and he's alligating.
Alistair, one of the other pieces of the article I'd like to go through here is how you put that activating gold could be the financial equivalent of a nuclear war. So how do we assess, let's say, the effect that this has on America's military power and NATO as well?
Well, quite simply, if the purchasing power of the dollar is undermined in terms of buying all the military equipment and paying the military personnel some sort of living wage and all the rest of it, undermine the dollar and you undermine that. It's as simple as that. And I've always thought that this nuclear, the financial war is escalating into something which is the equivalent of nuclear proportions. It is ultimately incredibly destructive of the fiat currencies. Like, it destroys them entirely. Almost like you drop a few H-bombs on, I don't know, someone you don't particularly like, you just wipe them out. It's a bit like that, but the financial equivalent of it. That's why I've referred to this as the equivalent of a nuclear war. It is a major development. And as far as Russia is concerned, it is this special military operation in the Ukraine. As far as it's concerned, Putin can't back down on it. I mean, he's making statements like, perfectly prepared to negotiate, but I can tell you that terms will be completely unacceptable to the Americans, because what he wants is America, just get the hell out of Europe, then I'll stop. So, but America equally, can't do that, particularly before the next presidential election. So you can see that, both sides are like that. The only person who has any credibility on the American side, I think, in this, is Henry Kissinger, who said, look, and he said this, right at the outset, this is crazy. We've got to talk. Otherwise it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And, I'm absolutely right. And there are other people who are now sort of coming out, seeing the dangers. Colonel McGregor, for example, is one who is very vociferous on this. And I must say an awful lot of what he says seems to make very, very good sense to me. So, unless we actually defeat the Ukrainians, unless the Russians actually defeat the Ukrainians, I'm afraid this is, the only alternative I think Putin has to protect his own economy, his own credibility, and everything else is to escalate the financial war, and that I think is what we will see at this summit in Johannesburg.
Alistair, do you think this is going to be, like a major step change in, or let's say the equivalent of a financial nuclear bomb, or is it going to be, just another chink in these Western fiat systems on their way down?
I think it's a brief.
What's funny, Alligator will say purchasing power, but he doesn't say inflation. That's what inflation is the purchasing power. But he'll just say, well, they're losing purchasing power. But then he'll say, like, inflation's prices. And this is the only problem I have with Alligator is I don't know that he gets it. That is the inflation. You're printing too much money, and there goes the purchasing power of the dollar. The other thing I don't agree with them on is he sits there and he says, the price of gold isn't going up, it's the value of the dollar dropping. And I'm kind of like, well, the value of the dollar's dropped 98%. And if gold goes to 20,000, I have a tendency to think it is gold. Gold should go up because it's price fixed by the government, JP Morgan, not by the market. The Willie Mays card at 75 grand, the Brady card. Those cards are at market. Gold's not. And that's where I don't know that he gets free markets, because it's not totally the dollar declining. I think this is where I get frustrated. It's very much going to free market will make gold go up. Gold at 2,000 is not real. If you take free market, if you make it free market, it's 20,000. Regardless of what the dollar does. Now, if the dollar keeps going, then gold will change value. But I think there's two things going on here. There's the inflation making the dollar worthless, but there's also gold going to the free market, not the JP Morgan price fixing market. And it's gotta be much more than that. So I don't know why he doesn't seem to get price fixing versus free market. So those are the kind of the two things that I'm not quite getting from Alligator, that he really doesn't. I'm not. He understands the purchasing price, but he's not really understanding that is the inflation. I bet you
in the system. And I think it's far more serious than just another event in the decline. Now this to me is very, very serious. So we'll see. I mean, I think most of the naysayers in this are sort of just don't believe it can happen. Really, they don't believe that. An awful lot of people on our side of the fence, will agree that what we need to bring back gold into the financial system to give it stability and all the rest of it. The thought that this could be done quickly by the Russians, or led by the Russians in BRICS and all the rest of it. I mean, they think, no, this can't possibly happen. No. This is going to take 5-10 years. You get these sort of comments. And you also get other commentaries like, but the Indians said, they're not going to go along with it. And, of course, they've got a veto. So you've got these sorts of conflicting stuff, as it were, which is encouraging people to think that this is probably not the danger which it might seem on the surface.
I'd like to go back to thinking through the consequences for gold if we can, Alistair. You mentioned that if we just take the size of the U.S. Treasury market abroad, I think he said it was 32 trillion.
No, not Treasury. That's all investments, all foreign investments, long term and short term, of which around about 7 to 7.5 trillion is short term. In other words, bank deposits, U.S. Treasuries, corporate, T-bills, corporate bills, and so on. Of the rest, roughly 14.5 trillion is invested in equities and the balance is in bonds. So that's the sort of split that we're looking at. And of course, another aspect of this is that if I'm right about interest rates, I wish I wasn't, but I can't see any alternative, then there is going to be the mother of all bear markets in financial asset values. And so foreigners will not hang around on that 14.5 trillion.
So that's your stock market crash. Once the foreigners with $26 trillion invested, 14 trillion in the stock market, once they see the dollar going down, they're not going to keep their money in. And it's like us. I pulled my money right out of the bank. It's in the safe. We're walking to the gold store Thursday or Friday, and I'm getting out of the system, out of the stock market into gold. That's because we're smart enough to do it. The foreigners are going to see it, and they're going to do the same thing. They'll sell the stocks and bring the money back to Russia and China and Germany and Britain and all Switzerland, wherever they're from. They're going to pull their money back. And when you got all that money going out, what's going to happen to the stock market? It's going to crash. What's going to happen to the housing market? It's going to crash because these people are going to sell their houses. So you're going to have a ton of houses for sale and no buyers. And with high interest rates, they're just going to want to get out. That's why the pricing of the houses drop, because they're just going to sell it. I got to get out. I want my money. They're going to panic. They're all foreigners. They bought the house for $1 million. They'll take 500 grand. That's how it all happens, because it's not just the U.S. we're dealing with. The people in the U.S. are too stupid to really see what's going on. So they won't react to it because their money's in there anyway. My money's in U.S. dollars. I wouldn't put it in euros or Swiss francs or anything, but I put it in gold. So that's why the stock market's going to crash. It's the foreigners going to sell, and there's not going to be anybody to buy it. It's like the debt, right? They're going to sell all these treasuries and nobody wants them. So the Federal Reserve is going to buy the treasuries. We're going to buy our own treasuries. I mean, that's ridiculous. So it's like me putting up a baseball card for sale and then I buy it. Or no, Bobby buys what I sell, but we settle between ourselves. And that's really the problem. And it's bullshit. There's no demand. There's no market. So as I say, there's no demand for the dollar. That's what I mean. Nobody wants it. There's no market. It's zero. And when you got to buy your own shit, there's no demand for it.
Do a bit of a thought experiment with you here is comparing, let's say, the size of foreign held U.S. assets, let's just say as a complete category of that 32 trillion, and comparing that to the size of the gold market and what potential impact that could have when even a portion of that liquidity starts chasing gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to have an effect. Of course it is. And I don't really think there's an awful lot of liquidity in the gold market, apart from anything else. But I don't think the liquidity coming out of U.S. treasuries, out of U.S. equities and all the rest of it is necessarily all going to go to gold. I think it will probably, quite a lot of it will go to China. The reason being that China is upping its investment around, everywhere. Africa, Asia, Latin America, and so on. So it wants the capital inflows, as it were. It can handle those because it's got a home for it. So I think that's where a lot of this is going to go. And also, I think you'll find that people will start stockpiling commodities because if they see that the purchasing power of the dollar is declining, then obviously what you do is you buy commodities that you might need in the future. I think, those are the things that are likely to happen rather than it all going into gold. The quantity that goes into gold, I think, will be determined by the structure, if you like, of the new trade settlement currency to a large extent. Funk money as well. I can see this exposing problems in the West because quite a lot of central bank gold has been leased or swapped. So you've got two owners for quite a lot of it. We don't know how much that is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is north of 10,000 tons, double ownership.
Which you would be resolved through, a switch to a newer system, right? Because you'd have to update.
I think it will be resolved with a crisis, basically. I can see a crisis in the gold market. You've got all these sort of disparate factors. But what I would like to say is that, my comments assume that the purchasing power of gold is not changing through this. All the change is coming from the fiat currencies.
Right.
I mean, of course, when you get a panic out of fiat currencies, it is going to drive the purchasing power of gold up. It's bound to. I'm not talking about in terms of currencies, but relative to other things, if you like. The things that we normally buy. Property is a very good example of this. At the moment, property is an interesting one because until recently, everybody's been buying property on the basis of close to zero interest rates. Interest rates have started rising. You've got a little bit of a pause in the in the residential property market. Commercial property's got its different set of problems, but all related to the same thing: the cost of financing purchases. I think that as interest rates rise further, which would be accompanied by a fall in the purchasing power of dollars, pounds, euros, whatever, then those property values are going to fall even further, measured in those currencies. Meanwhile, in gold, of course, it'll be falling even faster, simply because the purchasing power of gold, I think, will not only reflect stability, but it will reflect a flood of money, realizing that its currency is going down, not gold going up, if you see what I mean. So it's going to be an interesting situation. And this led to, in the great inflation in 1922 to 23 in Germany, this led to property prices and farmland prices absolutely collapsing in local currency. But you could pick it up. If you had foreign currency, which in those days was dollars, the dollar was tied to gold at $20.67 to the ounce. You could buy and the other problem with property is that if you look at rentals, the rents that you achieve will fall in real terms very substantially, and they fall in a great inflation to the point where they don't cover the cost of maintaining the property. And when you get that situation, then the property is on its way down to zero value. It becomes a liability.
You get that, Bobby? Did you understand that? So be careful what you do. Alligator just told you not to do it. Because we're dealing with a highly inflationary period, dollar going down. Now, the only thing I argue with, as I said, is once gold gets away from price fixing, it will reach the free market value. And that's the part these idiots don't seem to get. In other words, they have to realize it's not free market. Inflation hits, COMEX is gone. Now gold hits free market. Then gold goes to the dollar's value. So interest rates will go up. And as you just said, the rental properties, the rent is because it's inflated. So as the dollar becomes worthless, what are you going to charge for rent, Bobby? So you're renting the property on the beach for what, $2,000 for a week? I don't know, $1,500 a week. Problem is, it's inflated dollars. Unless you charge gold and silver, you get $1,500 toilet paper. You're not making anything. That's what he's saying. The dollar will go out. You're going to charge $1,500 rent. You're not getting $1,500. And then you still owe your loan. That's what he's saying. That's what I'm saying.
If you like. This is, these effects are very, very far-reaching, Tom. And but if you've got gold, then you could probably benefit from it, because once the currency is destroyed, or once the situation's deteriorated to the point where the political class have the courage to try and stop the slide by readopting a gold standard. At that point, you find that the value of property and so on and so forth will start rising, because stability will help it. So from that point, you should have, just ahead of then, perhaps spent your gold buying property or similar assets, if you like, the assets which we all need as part of our daily lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all turns out, Alistair. And I think using history as a guide, looking at how that has happened before, you bring up the example of buying property in Germany, or buying an entire house, or I think it was an entire block for an ounce of gold.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing to think of.
Exactly. Well, I mean, foreign students studying in Berlin were reportedly buying streets of houses out of mummy and daddy's allowance. They get that monthly allowance, comes in dollars, and they run out and they buy houses with it. I mean, it was, the middle classes were bankrupted. Landowners were bankrupted. So some big estates changed hands. The people who benefited from this were very few. There was an inflation. Well, he was known as the inflation king, a guy called Hugo Stinnes, who at one stage owned roughly a quarter.
So that's what I keep saying. The only way out is gold, because anything in dollars gets killed. So real estate gets killed because it's in dollars and it's going to not have a value. We walk in with gold, we buy anything we want because there's nothing there. The dollar goes to zero. People need money, and here comes gold. And like I said, we'll be buying houses and cars with gold and silver. Now, so one note I heard about silver is if we go to Europe, they tax it. They don't tax it here. So right now, we go to the gold store to sell our silver, there's no tax. The 1099, I think, is on like 10,000 or whatever. The gold, we do 1099. Now in Europe, the gold we can sell with no tax. So the silver we sell here, the gold we sell there. And what they're saying is each country's different. So we got to see what Switzerland's going to charge us versus Amsterdam versus France and Italy. We'll have to see. Anyway, there's two schools. There's the Keynesians, or they'll call them the MMTs or the monitor. I don't know. When I went to school, there was two types. There's Keynesians or Austrians. Austrians were called classical or Austrian, and then there was Keynesian. Now there's like, I'm watching some guy. It's like now when I watch something on the news, it'll say Joe Blow, and I'm like checking, who is he? And then I say, oh, he's a new Keynesian. Oh, I didn't know there was a new Keynesian. So he's a new Keynesian, so I automatically ignore him. He doesn't think there'll be a crash or the market will drop or there'll be inflation and there'll be a soft landing. The problem is the Keynesians won't admit they're wrong. They've been proven wrong 50 years ago. So I don't really understand it. So they'll come out with, well, we're a new Keynesian. Our method will work. The old method didn't work, but our method will work. And you do a Bobby, you shake your head and go, what the fuck? The only way everything works is at free market. The government tries to control things, it doesn't work. That's basically what happens is government tries to control interest rates, the whole banking, the whole printing of the money. And that's always the problem. That's your trade cycle. They print too much, they lose the value, and then everybody gets fucked because they're trying to predict everything, which you can't do. So, as I said, we understand it. And therefore, when the price of gold and silver drop, we're there to buy it. So, as I said, I think I'd be buying a little bit more gold now than silver, but I already have 600 ounces of silver. And I think the point is, the more I think about it, well, it's the gold standard. Gold's indestructible, first of all. If I'm flying somewhere to cash it in, I can put 2 ounces in my pocket at 50,000 an ounce or whatever it's going to be worth and cash it in. And nobody knows I got 2 little ounces on me, where silver, I got to carry that 20 thing around. And, they'll be worth, let's say, 2,000 an ounce. So I'll have $40,000 in a 20 ounce thing. Or I can have an ounce of gold worth 50, which is very easy to hide that nobody can really see. So I would buy a few more ounces of gold. As I was talking to Luke yesterday or Sunday, it's just much better and it's indestructible and everything else. So I'll have to figure out Friday. I think I'll buy, I'll have my paycheck to go with all my IRA money and figure out what to do. And then the credit cards I moved over. So everything's starting to feel right again because I was starting to have to pay some credit card payments and I'm getting interest. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't want the interest. Now, will the credit cards go to zero because of the banking crisis? I still think yes. Because understanding what I understand, the dollar goes to zero. The ship sinks. So it's not like if this goes to zero, what does your credit card statement say? What does your mortgage statement say? So let's say you owe $300,000 on your mortgage. Well, you clearly don't owe $300,000 of this anymore because this doesn't exist. So either it switches to the new currency and you start paying, which is what the banks will want, or they just zero everything out because how do you value the house? Well, it's 300,000 in this, but what's the house in the new currency? What's the house in the CBDC? What are you going to value that? And keep in mind, anything that comes out fiat, not backed by gold, will last about 4 or 5 months. So even if the CBDC comes out, it won't be out for long because if it's not backed by gold, nobody's going to want it. Again, it all comes to free market. If I don't want it, there is no market. Keep that in mind of everything. These electric cars, I just keep saying, now I saw Tesla's going to do this and Toyota came out with this new battery. Yeah, bullshit. There's no new battery. They've been trying to get a new battery for 50 years. There ain't no new battery. Then I hear in the cold weather, the battery doesn't last and the charge and then finding a charging station. Who the hell wants an electric car? If you're dumb enough to think that we're all going to die because of gas-powered cars versus electric cars, you need to be locked up somewhere because you're clueless. that's all I could say about that. It's ridiculous. This is a planet. We're not going anywhere because you drive a car. There's not enough electricity anyway, and we need the fossil fuels if we want to survive. We need gas and oil. I see Biden trying to get rid of or limit refrigerators and air conditioners. This guy's out of his fucking mind. What's with the environmental crap of, well, we can't use an air conditioner or a refrigerator or whatever. What is he doing? Does he have a fucking clue what he does? What an idiot. Anyway, so that's what's new in alligator land. I mean, it's the same thing he's been telling us. We know bricks will come out, gold standard, and then I'm not quite sure on the Egon stance how he says, well, in 50 minutes, the stadium fills up with water, and after 45 minutes, it's only 7% full. So it's very, very light. And in the last 5 minutes, it swallows everything up. And I think that's what we're going to see here. It's very, very shallow right now. But when they announce it and the shit hits the fan, you're going to see $20,000 gold. It's not going to slowly creep up. It's going to fill up. And that's what Egon keeps warning us. Now, Alligator keeps talking about, well, when it's the purchasing power going down, not gold going up. I'm starting to think he's a little bit, he doesn't understand free market, because if you understand price fixing and free market, which all these salesmen aren't getting, they're not getting that basic concept of the Willie Mays card at 75,000 because it's a free market, but yet gold in a price fixed government market, it's not going to stay price fixed government. It's going to go to free market, and there's no way it's 2,000. So this is what he's not getting. Gold price goes up because it hits free market. And then as the dollar loses value, it ends up not even being valued in dollars. It's valued in gold, and gold's going to buy that. And I'm so sick of, well, I can't go to the grocery store with gold. How do you go to the grocery store now? You use your debit card because you have money in your account. Well, you're going to sell an ounce of gold and put the money in the account. You're still going to have bank accounts. The banks aren't going anywhere. At least mine aren't. I mean, if they were, they wouldn't be offering me a 21-month 0% card. If they were going away, they wouldn't be offering any of that. Now, my credit was, I mean, they really didn't check. They said, what's your annual income? I said, this is what I make at Harley. And next thing I know, I got 14,000. So I'm willing and able, which means I want to borrow and I'm able to pay back. And there's not a lot of us out there. Anyway, so that's what's going on there. Not much. Ukraine war, Russia's up 52-0. And Biden won't let Ukraine surrender. He keeps paying off Zelensky, who's a traitor to his own people. He's getting his own people killed instead of just saying, no, I'm tired of my people dying. Now, Jenna she found a ride to Warsaw, which is good. I don't know how long that's going to take, but she says, I got a friend who can drive me to Warsaw, and then I can fly to Berlin. When I looked at flights, is $280. It's an hour and a half flight. I'm like, I'll pay for that because it cost me more for the train. And I kept having to repay because she paid for the train. And then when it got there, it was full. She couldn't take it. Had to go on the next one and then needed to pay for that. So I double paid all the train. Take the fucking airplane. Just go. So if he can drop her at the airport, this is beautiful. Now I'm reading, though, there's a potential war between Poland and Belarus. Poland is like, they got crushed by Russia and Germany in World War II. So they built their military up. They're a very strong military right now. And they're right next to Ukraine and right next to Germany. They're really in a fuck location. So they might fight Belarusia. So I don't think there'll be I think the war is coming in currency. And that's what'll happen. Anyway, so that's what Alligator said. And then there was a new one. Well, this is an older one from Egon, which we already talked about. His are pretty much the same every time, right? He talks about the waterfall and it filling the last 5%. He talks about just let the currency go and the gold will go up, and he's pro gold. He's a libertarian, which I guess is what I am. Very limited government and freedom. Let me have a good laws and the market. Now, I checked into moving to Switzerland. It's fucking expensive. I mean, to be a citizen, you got to have like a lot of money. I don't know that you need a job because I'd be retired, but you'd need a lot of money to move there. So I don't know if I can go to Switzerland, which I thought I'd have lunch with Egon every other day, but looking for a new country. Hungary's supposed to have gone very conservative. Germany supposedly voted in conservative. So everything's going conservative. People are waking up to what's been happening, and a lot of it's this immigration where the Muslims and the Middle Eastern are moving in, and they're ruining these countries because they're really not citizens. And it's like here, when you see these Indians or you see these Middle Easterns, they don't respect you. It's not, they don't understand you're in our country. They come in like they're in India. This is how we were, treated in India, and that's how we're going to be treated here. And we're like, no, you're in my country now. You gotta understand our rules and cultures. And they don't, and that's the problem. Then they start voting in Indians. Well, Indians are socialists and communists. We don't want them. This is not commie land. This is capitalism. So the Indians don't understand any of that. When I see an Indian running a company, I run. Every time I worked at a company and an Indian was running, it was bad news. All right, so that's that. Any other questions or comments on Egon and Alistair on economics? Please feel free. The money's going to zero. Buy your gold before. I'm going to buy a few more ounces because of BRICS. I don't know at what point BRICS does its thing, right? So is BRICS on... BRICS comes out and says we're going to have a gold-backed currency. Does the gold go up right away? I don't think it goes up the day they announce it, but I could see after Labor Day it might go up. I mean, there's always like they wait for a holiday and when there's light activity and then boom. So I don't know. Again, it's very hard to predict a day, but the catalyst will be we're coming out with the gold-backed currency, or somehow gold will be implied with our currency and or trading currency, whatever. And just that the fact that gold's going to be used, they have to raise the gold price because it's too cheap. With all the inflation, there's not enough, there's too much paper floating around for the amount of gold. All right. So let's look at our watch list. So when we look at our free market, so the gold price is $263 for an ounce. So at my store, I can probably get it for about $240, $230 because this is the eBay price, and my guy's 20 to 30 under eBay. I would not buy SJD bullion or that. That's really expensive, I'm finding. 17 days left on our Brady card for $5 million. Here's 265 for this. So again, it's about 230. 48,000 for the Mantle PSA 10. 48 grand. The Maple Leaf 2034. So I'm expecting the Maple Leaf to be about 2,000 at the guy's store. Here's a PSA 9, my favorite card, the 65, 60,000. PSA 9, what do we think a PSA 10 is going for, if you can even find one? Mine is nowhere near a 9. Well, I don't even have this card like I have the others. Now here you can see the Maple Leaf 2034, the Cougaran 2030. So why is there the big deal about when you go buy it, there's that much of a difference? So it's 230 to 2. So it's a $30 difference, right? Because we're in America, people will more than likely buy US once it goes up. So it's 30,000 an ounce. Do we give a fuck if it's 30,000 or 29,970? Bobby, this is for you. You can get 100 ounces for 194,000. Have them pay you in this. You got that big contract where you're getting paid till, 2095. Get paid in this. It's a good price too. Then we got the Jim Brown card at 15.5 for a PSA 9. Willie Mays 75,000. Joe 99,000. Now see, here's the difference. This is the rookie 99. This is the second year 895. Now there's easier to get the second year in PSA 10. The centering was better, and the demand, it's the second year card. So you can see where there is a good, I got 5 of these at $5 a piece. I got some Walter Paytons also, and then Lawrence Taylor, Ronnie Lott rookies. This was a good set, but here you go. And then this being his rookie card, it's very hard to find it. So again, this is the market. Here, there's very few 10s in high demand. It's Montana. Here, there's a lot more 10s and still high demand because it's Montana, but it shows you there's more supply and the price is down. And that's what I tell you with the dollar. There's more supply of the dollar. As they print it, you can see the value drop. So you can see in a very limited way. And this is what I tell you about money. It's got to be limited to keep its value. Once you make a lot of it, it's not limited, the value goes down. And there's a perfect example there. And then the Jim Brown rookie card at 119. So again, it's demand, who the player is, and then it's the supply of how much is there. In a PSA 10 Montana or Rice, Walter Payton, Lynn Swann, very hard to find. Earl Campbell, but there's huge demand for those. So that's why when you buy stuff, you want to buy stuff that's popular, that's demanded. That's why you don't see Joe Smith. You don't see a 68-10 Joe Smith going for 75,000. His would go for maybe 700. There's no demand for it, so there's got to be a demand. So when I talk about this, there just isn't demand. All these countries don't want it because they're being a bully. They're being abusive. Nobody wants to be abusive. Nobody wants to be a slave. I'll lend you money if you do this. There's like 100, I read today, there's like 101 countries that will not buy the debt, will not buy the bonds, and they're selling it all. So basically the Titanic is about 2/3 covered in water. And the Keynesians like Biden are going, oh, no, we'll be fine. We're not going to sink. Joe, the water's like, up to here in the boat. No, we're fine. It'll be a soft landing. Let my other Keynesian friends who don't understand that water fills the boat and sinks it. Let me bring you these guys. Let's bring them in. That's about what you have. You have a bunch of idiots. And if they keep saying it, they expect you to believe it. And that's the problem. If I don't teach it, I can say the sky's green and you're going to believe it because you don't know. And that's what they've done by uneducating everybody. They don't know, so they could say whatever they want. But who knows? The Russians and the Chinese learn this stuff, and they go, no, 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 no. You print the money, it goes to zero. We buy gold. And now they got. So I don't know. I keep hearing that China has 60,000 tons. And next thing I know, Egon's like, well, they probably have 20 or 30,000 tons. I thought they had 60,000. And he says the Russians have 20,000 or so. Well, yeah, we know that. That's probably 25. He says they pull it out of their mind and they don't sell it. Well, I see some China gold here, some pandas at my guy's store, but they must have been Chinese who got out of China and bought it. But they understand it, and all the central banks and BRICS are buying gold because they want to stay alive because they know their currency's fucked. They printed it to death. I don't know why Russia is 92 to 1 versus our dollar. It should be about 30 to 1. We're inflating, they're not. And then I love how people like kind of say, well, now the inflation's getting better. Okay, don't believe that, please. It's at least 15%. Food prices haven't come. When you see oil, when you see Oreos down to 250, then I'll believe inflation. Because if inflation went way up and then, so what they're saying is Oreos went from 250 to 5. That's inflation. But from 5, they didn't go up another 10%. They didn't go to 550. They stayed at 5. So therefore inflation's gone. No, inflation was 250. The Oreos were 250. Now they're 5. So the price has doubled if you really want to look at it in price terms. But that's not how you measure inflation. You measure by how much money was printed, the value of the money, and then that's where you really look at interest rates. So when you see mortgage rates, not the Fed's rates, the mortgage rates. The market rates, what's a mortgage cost, what's a used cars cost. That's how you measure inflation. It ain't good. So don't be fooled by that crap. It's not any better. If gold drops as it did, it's a fucking sale. Buy it. All right. So let's go to baseball. Major League Baseball. Today's 8/8. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I know it's Tuesday because I got my money in. I know Thursday because I'll get my paycheck. And then Friday I know because I get out at noon. Detroit 6 over Minnesota, 6-0. Again, they lose like 10-0 yesterday. Today they win 6-0. You go figure it out. Now, I know the pitcher for Detroit is their best pitcher, that Rodriguez guy, who, now this is confusing. Apparently, he told the GM, I would take the trade to the Dodgers, verbally. But then when it came to writing the contract, the guy reneged. Well, in my world, if it's a verbal agreement, that's a contract. That's a verbal contract. And that would have been it. I would just let this guy go and tell him to go fuck himself. If you tell me you'll take a trade to the Dodgers and I set up a trade to the Dodgers and then you renege, you ain't playing on my team. These GMs are a bunch of idiots. I mean, that's it. But again, here's the Tigers 6-0. And, they lost 10-0 yesterday. So who the fuck knows? This is the problem with these teams. Now, again, their best pitcher went tonight. Yesterday was some bush leaguer. And the same thing with Minnesota. One of their better pitchers pitched yesterday. One of their better pitchers pitched today. So I would have played this game under, and it looks like it's an under. It's 6-0. Miami 3-2 over the Reds. It's hard without that. Baltimore 6-2 over Houston. I know Verlander lost a close, low-scoring game Saturday or Sunday. He should be pitching in the next day or two. Bet him under if it's a good pitcher on Baltimore. If it's not, then just take Verlander. Pittsburgh 6-5 over Atlanta. So you can't really get surprised and say, well, Atlanta's the best team and Pitt isn't. It's all about the pitcher. So who's pitching is all the only way to look at it. KC 6-2 over Boston. See, KC wins every once in a while. Cleveland won, Toronto nothing. You wouldn't have expected Toronto to get shut out. The Cubs and the Mets. Bobby, you playing tonight? 2-2. They need a pinch hitter in the ninth, Bobby. You better get there. It's in New York. Philly 4, Washington 2. Philly's really inconsistent too. The Yankees 2, the White Sox 0. Colorado, Milwaukee 1-1. How would Colorado only score 1 run? All right, we can analyze the next 3 games. Next 4 games. We got 4 West Coast. The Niners in California, Angels. Scott Alexander, 6-1 with a 3-2-1 against Gio Lotto for California. 6-8 with the 4-3-6. Over under a 9. I like the 49ers with the 6-1 with the 3-2-1. He should keep them down pretty good. Texas and Oakland, we got Scherzer 10-4 with the 404 for Texas. JP Sears 2-8 with the 407. There you go. Take Scherzer. I know he's not been pitching great, but at Oakland, seriously, with this team, definitely like Scherzer tonight. Oh, that's good. We got a Scherzer bet in. Nick Martinez, 5-4 with the 3.68 against Logan Gilbert, 9-5 with the 3.86. San Diego and Seattle. I like the under here, 8.5. We got 2 good pitchers going. The Dodgers and Arizona, we got Urias 8-6 with the 4.69 and Brandon Pfaadt, Pfaadt. How the hell would you pronounce it? 0-5 with the 7-11. Let's take the Dodgers here, or we can go over. Let's go over 9. It's more fun. So we can go under in Seattle. We make a big bet on Scherzer for Texas over Oakland. We take the 49ers, and we take the over in the Dodger game. Phillies 8, Washington 4. Zach Wheeler 9-5 with a 3.74 against Trevor Williams 5-7 with the 5.00. So you can see Wheeler with the 3.74, and he's 9-5, got the win. You could see that. As far as over, yeah, the guy with the 5 ERA, they get 8 runs off of him. That makes perfect sense. Tampa Bay 4, St. Louis 2. And now I heard that McClanahan is out for a little bit. I don't know how long. Jason Adams 3-2 with a 2.74 ERA against McCullough 6-8 with the 4.2. So we can see a low-scoring game. St. Louis having trouble hitting Adams, and they did 4-2. So you can kind of see the method to the madness. So that be baseball. Let's go to NFL. Let's see if it gives odds. Yeah, okay. So now here, Kansas City 6.5, 54.5. This is week 1. We got Atlanta 3, 42.5 against Carolina. We got the Cincinnati down to 1. See, this is like gold going down, right? Who do we like in the game? Cincinnati, Joe Burrow and Chase. That's it. Cleveland can't answer that. Nick Chubb should keep it interesting. They don't have a quarterback. Deshaun Watson, not betting on him. I would bet on Thompson Robinson at UCLA as their backup, or he's one of their quarterbacks. So, again, we see the line drop because of the Burrow injury, but it happened so early, and it's just a calf. And unless we hear something other, we assume he's going to start. Now we get 5 points with Cincinnati. It's even a better bet. So when the line goes in our favor, even though it goes from 2.5 down to 1, we want Cincinnati. So instead of taking Cincinnati in 3.5, we now get Cincinnati in 5. So we don't look at why is the line dropping. We know it's because of the Burrow injury, but we sit there and go, this is great. We're getting 5. As long as Burrow plays, which I'm sure he will, there's a steal. Because even if they lose, they're not going to get blown out by Cleveland. So that's my point. So you do. It's like gold dropping. Gold's dropping. There's no reason. Gold drops because of the derivatives, because it's J.P. Morgan. It's the government control, price control of it. So we know once it hits free market, it's going to go way up. So we don't worry about it. Same thing here. We get Cincinnati in 5. Thank you. Jacksonville 3.5, 43.5. I don't know how you could bet Indy. I don't know how you can bet Richardson if he's the quarterback. I don't know who their other quarterback would be, but I don't know how you can possibly bet on this team. Over under 43.5. If it's Richardson, how are they going to score? So look for a low scoring game. But Jacksonville doesn't have a great defense. It's not a great game to bet under with Indy. Because Jacksonville's defense is kind of weak, but we'll see. Tampa Bay Mini 6.5, 45.5. Mini's getting some injuries, but they're a bunch of players I've never heard of, so who cares? And 6.5. As long as Cousins and Jefferson play, that's all you worry about. I still think they beat Tampa at home. I don't love Minnesota. I don't love their defense, but I really hate Tampa's got the worst coach I've ever seen. So you can't bet Tampa to win the game, so you can take many here. Tennessee, New Orleans 3, 41.5. Again, probably an under. New Orleans, they got the running back for the Lions. They got Carr. They got Olave. So they got a pretty good offense. They're pretty tough at home. Tennessee with the defense, so this should be a low-scoring game, so we go under. The Niners and Pitt, Brock Purdy's playing. They're laying 3, over under 40.5. With these defenses, it's an easy under. I don't see where the points are going to – I don't see either team getting to 20. That gives you like a 36-37. The over-under is 46.5 in a teaser, and that's the beauty of the teaser. Arizona and Washington. Washington 6 and 40. Where the hell is the points coming? I don't know the quarterbacks yet. I'll take a look. But you got to be kidding me. So this is also a strong under. Now the difference is the under in the Frisco-Pittsburgh game is because they both have great defenses. The under in this game is neither team has a quarterback or an offense. So it's a little bit trickier. I prefer the Frisco Pit because I prefer that strong defense just shutting you out. Here I'm betting not the defense necessarily. I'm betting because Kyler Murray's out. Their coach is gone. They're going to score 10 points in this game. Washington has a fairly good defense. So I look at Washington. I look at the defense here for Washington keeping this, and then they don't have a quarterback, so they're not going to score a lot. Houston, Baltimore 9.5, 44.5. How the fuck's Houston going to score? What, C.J. Stroud or Davis Mills? Baltimore with the rough defense, no offense. So this is also a very low-scoring game, and I like that this is 44.5, under 50.5. They'll never get anywhere near that one. The Bears and the Packers, from what I hear, Jordan Love stinks. Can't complete just basic passes. The Bears have no defense. Packers have no defense. And the Bears basically, it's Justin Fields running. That's not what I want my quarterback to do. So I look at the game over, but it's hard. We don't know how bad Green Bay is. We know Chicago is going to score because they put up that big number against Dallas and New England with with Fields running. So we look for a pretty high number. We don't know if we can take Green Bay's 8.5. So we really don't know what Green Bay brings to the table, if they're going to score at all, as bad as Love is. Denver and Oakland, Denver 3.5, 44.5. We like Denver. We like Sean Payton. We like Russell Wilson and theirs. And we don't know Oakland, worst coach in the league, and well, behind Tampa, and then it's just a terrible quarterback. So Garoppolo, when was he ever a good starter? I don't understand his value to the club. Well, let's make him our starting quarterback. When has he ever been a good starter? I mean, he went to San Francisco, and he got hurt the whole time. So he's not a leader. I don't, Denver should have an easy time here. Philly and New England. We love the Georgia defense on Philly. Georgia South, Georgia North against New England. Max Jones sucks. Normally a good defense with Belichick, the defensive coordinator. Philly 4.5, 45.5. This is a great under. Just pounded under. Now, keep in mind, though, New England does have problems with a running quarterback like Fields, right? They couldn't handle him. There was a few other. They have trouble with Lamar. So New England's not very good at handling a running quarterback. I don't know if Hurts is a running quarterback or not, but he's certainly not a throwing quarterback. Miami and the Chargers, San Diego 2.5, 50.5. Gotta love the game over. Two good quarterbacks, explosive offense. Tua's not a good quarterback, but they have a good offense, explosive offenses, not great defenses. I look for this to go over. The Rams against Coach Pete. McVay loves Stetson Bennett. He'll start Stafford, but he'll start Stafford and he'll start losing, and then he'll go to Bennett and start winning, and you're going to go, why didn't he just start Bennett right away? That's my question, right? Sort of like New Orleans. Why aren't they going to start Hainer and Cleveland? Why don't they start Thompson Robinson? And then you're looking at Indy and Houston starting Richardson and CJ Stroud going, why are they even playing these guys? Why did they even draft these guys? So it's hard to say. I think I like the over. Seattle can score. Their defense isn't great. It's not the Legion of Boom. The Rams, Aaron Donald, but they're kind of – Ramsey's gone. They're probably score more. Good McVay can put up points. So I look for this game to go over. Dallas and the Giants. Dallas 3.5, 46.5. Hard to bet Dallas as a road favorite. Hard to bet on Prescott. Jones sucks. The Giants are just a running team. They're like Army Navy. So I kind of think this is an under. I think Micah Parsons just dominates the game and just takes out Jones. Giants will be lucky to score. Dallas will have their 3 interceptions with Prescott. So should be a low-scoring game, I think. And last but not least, Buffalo 1.5, 46.5. You got to love the Jets as a home dog here. I mean, Rodgers, the Green Bay offense, the Niner defense, Buffalo, Josh Allen's not in Rodgers' class, and their defense got really bad at the end. I don't know that it's any better. I'm not betting against Rodgers' home opener Monday night. Even if they get down, they're not going to get blown out. Buffalo is not going to blow them out. Not this defense. They couldn't blow them out last year, and New York had no quarterback, Mike White or whatever. So look for the Jets to win the game straight out. So that's week 1 of the NFL. Now we're watching injuries. I see a lot of injuries, but there are a lot of nobodies, and/or it's so early in camp doesn't mean anything. Unless it's a serious, like Ramsey's out till December. If the guy's just like Joe Burrow, he hurt himself, but how bad is he hurt? So therefore, I'm not going to sit there and cry, oh, Burrow's not going to play the week 1. Now, if they say he's out the week of week 1, that's a different story. Right now, he's playing. Now, the week of the game, that's why we don't bet now. You can't, how are you going to bet? I mean, you don't know. That's why all these bullshit bets of how many games a team's going to win is the dumbest bets you can make. Well, I'm going to bet KC to win 11 games, and then Mahomes gets hurt. Well, now what are you going to do? Or Baltimore is going to win, 8 games. You got Lamar. Even if he's healthy, he's not going to get 8 games. So you have, it's based on injury. Football is all injury. So how anybody in their right mind could bet how many games somebody's going to win now for the year? Got to be out of your fucking mind. I mean, my point is, okay, what do you want to bet? And just go buy gold with it. And I know Nick does this a little bit, but I wouldn't do it now. I could see halfway into the year, the Jets are looking. They go beat Buffalo. Now they beat Miami. And now their odds on them winning the division is, 10-1, and they're 8 games in. Okay, now I can see. Yeah, Rodgers looks good. The defense looks good. They beat Buffalo and Miami. Okay, yeah, they're going to win. So then I would bet it. Now I can't. Now I think they will win the division. And I might make a small token bet on it, but really it's not. A professional bettor like me, I can't sit there and there's too many injuries. I can't, and there's no reason to do it. I can play the teaser every week, and then I know who I got. Oh, Burrow's playing. And I'd rather bet my money on Cincinnati +5 with Burrow than say, Baltimore is going to win 10 games. You got to be out of your mind. First of all, Lamar can't finish the season. He's not going to finish the season. Even if he's healthy, he's not going to finish the season because they drew out the contract. So Lamar, you can't trust on your team anyway. And it's just, you got to be nuts. So that's my point. To bet a sport like football, banking on players to be healthy, you got to be nuts. Look at baseball, these pitchers getting hurt. They're only pitching every 5th day. They pitch every 5th day 100 pitches, and they're still getting hurt. How are they getting hurt? What the hell is going on? The pitchers can't pitch every 5th day 100 pitches, and they still get hurt. Oh, they hurt their elbow. Then there's a problem with what they're doing. They're throwing pitches that they shouldn't be throwing. I think they throw too hard. I think everybody throws 95 miles an hour. Well, I throw it very hard, and I can't throw 95. I went to Cedar Point in Ohio, and they had that little, you throw it into a bullseye, and it tells you how fast you're throwing. And I whipped it pretty good, and it was like 60 miles an hour. And I'm going, how the fuck do these guys throw 95? Now, I don't think I had my whole body behind it, but if that's what I got to do to throw 90, no wonder they're all breaking their arms. These guys are idiots. Learn how to pitch. A pitcher throws 70, throws 80, maybe 90, maybe curveballs, changeups, fastballs. That's a pitcher. Not because you throw 95. Does that, if you're not made to throw 95 and you can't keep it in the strike zone, it really doesn't do you any good to throw 95. So I don't know if they're getting hurt. I heard that's why the kids are in travel leagues the whole year or half the year, and they're all trying to throw 90 miles an hour when they're 15, 16, 17, and then by the time they're 21, their arm's shot. That wouldn't surprise me, but I've never seen anything like it where they can't pitch. I mean, it's like they're all hurt, and something's wrong. And it ain't obviously the pitch count's not the answer. I love that. Wow. I love, like, where do they come up with this? And then every team does it. Like this analytics. I hear the announcer on the Tigers. I want to throw up. I want to just tweet him like, you're the biggest idiot I ever heard. He says, above the strike zone, below the strikes. No, they're either high or they're low, or they're inside or they're outside. There's no above and below the strike zone. That's not real. And then he doesn't look at batting average, home runs, and RBIs. He looks at OPS. So if the guy's got a 500 OPS, he's trying to correlate it to batting average. Well, look, he's got a 500 batting average. No, of his hits, a lot of them are extra bases. That's why it's 500. But if the guy's hitting 220, the guy sucks. And he made that comment today about, I think it was about pitching. Oh, this guy's really good because he gets a lot of strikeouts and not a lot of walks. And then the opposing players only hit 180 off of him or something. And I'm like, no, you look at ERA. How many runs does he give up is the key to a pitcher, not walks and strikeouts. Because if he wins, if his ERA, like Verlander, if his ERA is like in the low twos normally, I'm sure he's throwing the ball over. I'm sure he's not walking a lot. And I'm sure he's striking out a lot. So if I see a 2.0 ERA, I want the guy. That's the key. And the same thing with batting average. If the guy's hitting 300, I want him. The Tigers have a bunch of 220 hitters, but they walk. So he looks at that, and then it's this OPS. And most of the Tigers, they're all hit under, in the 220s. I love this team. It's like so this is a bunch of idiots. This is a management that doesn't know what's important, what to look at and what not to look at. So where else do we see that? We see it in the Titanic. Keynesians look at price. We look at how much dollars you printed and how you're ruining the value of the dollar. Alligator, I'm not sure what he's doing because he keeps saying the money, the value of the dollar going down, but he doesn't call it inflation. And then they will talk about price inflation or wage inflation. There's no such thing. Hate to break it to him. So again, I think the key to life's understanding the right keys. When we look at football, we look at defense, we look at the points, we look at the quarterbacks, we look at the quarterbacks' touchdowns to interceptions. We don't like Fields because he can't hit 50% of his passes, even though he runs for 1,000 yards. Yeah, they won 3 games. So that's not the correlation we're looking for. But if the defense gives up 15 points a game, like Georgia or Iowa State, and they win a lot, or at least they play low-scoring games, that's what we're looking. So you've got to understand what the key is to look at. And that's basically it, right? And the girl looks at you. If she smiles, that's okay, check. If she doesn't smile at you, then you got to, I won't approach her. So there's all the signals, but you got to read the white one. In poker, it's the same thing. The guy stares at the TV, I'm out. So there's certain things the certain tells that are meaningful and the other ones that aren't. But there's always the right keys and the wrong keys. So again, if I'm the GM of a team, I'm looking at hitters that hit 300. That if they can hit 30 homers and they can drive in 90 RBIs, I'm signing the guy up. I don't want a guy who hits 210 on my team. If I was the GM of the Tigers, the whole team would be down in the minor leagues. They have one 300 hitter. He'd be up. All these guys that hit 220 and 210, gone. Cabrera, gone. I'll eat his $30 million. For 5 years ago, I would have eaten it. I would have made a trade and said, here, you can have Cabrera. I'll pay 3/4 of the salary. Get it off my books because the guy's killing the team. He hits 220. Doesn't do shit. He looks like a fat pig. I saw him on TV the other day. He was fat. He looked round, looked like an offensive lineman. You're not on my team. I don't care. I don't need you for 10 years. Who the fuck signs a 10-year contract on a 30-year-old? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, I don't sign anybody to a 10-year contract. Most I would do is maybe 4 years. If the guy wanted more, I'd say, well, there's the door. Because there's enough good players to get. You don't need to sign a guy to a 10-year contract. When's it ever worked out? Alex Rodriguez, Cabrera. I don't think Jeter had a 10-year. Jeter would have been the one guy that you could have signed to a 10-year. Mickey, of course, Willie Mays, Barry, Bobby. Yeah, those make sense, but not Cabrera. But that's the problem. I don't know how they're looking at it, but they keep getting guys that are 220, and they have way too many pitchers, and all the pitchers get hurt. I would be every 4, I'd go back to 4 pitchers on the 4th day, and you're pitching 150 innings, because apparently it doesn't matter. I mean, I can't find enough good pitchers if I have 5 pitchers and 10 pitchers in the bullpen. I keep winning, I can't even go 300. I win 70 games and lose 90 every year. I'm not competitive. Obviously, this doesn't work. And all the pitchers they keep drafting get hurt. So obviously there's a problem. And I'm relying too much on that, and I can't hit. And if I can't hit, I can't score, and I can't win. So if you look at the good teams, Texas, Houston, they got a bunch of 300 hitters. The Dodgers don't have the pitching. They always choke. But Philadelphia can hit. Anyway, it's understanding what the key is. It's understanding which variable makes sense, which ones doesn't. In football, we know it's defense. Defense and quarterback. And it's got to be a good quarterback, not a running quarterback. Running quarterbacks don't win. They never have. They never will, because it's playing chess without the rooks and the bishops. What else? So that's week 1 of pro. That's baseball. So baseball, what are we looking at? We're looking at pitchers' ERAs to bet. Football, we're looking at, quarterbacks and defense. A little bit of coach, Sean Payton, McVay, Coach Pete. So we'll bet on those coaches. Again, gold and silver. The key and the ace in the hole is Brick's going to say we're going to be backing. We're going to use gold for something, and all the central banks are using gold, and Russia wants to win the war, are going to go to gold. Russia's going to win this war, and they hate the U.S., so they know the U.S. has no gold. So they're going to turn the screws in them and say, yeah, we're coming out with something to do with dollars with gold. And same with China. There will never be a war of the U.S. and China. China is not prepared for war. They do not want a war. They don't go to war. China fights wars in China. They do not go to the U.S. and fight a war. They don't go to Russia and fight a war. They're not going to go to Taiwan and fight a war. It ain't going to happen. China doesn't have the military, nor do they have the finances for. So don't expect the U.S. and China to fight over Taiwan. That'll never happen. Why isn't the U.S. fighting Russia? Well, we're letting the Ukrainians die, which I feel bad because of Jenna, who lives in the Ukraine, and I'm really worried. I wish she'd move the fuck out of there, but her kids are there, so she won't leave. Now you got Poland maybe going to war with Belarus, but I doubt it. Nobody really wants a war, so what's going to happen is Europe doesn't want this. NATO doesn't want to keep fighting Russia. And it's hurting their energy, and it's hurting everything. And it's because the U.S. wants the war, because the U.S. has a bunch of idiots running the country. And they want a war because they make money with the defense contractors. It's always about money, and that's where they're making their money. So the U.S., the problem is they've killed our military. We don't have a military anymore because all the Stinger missiles and all the tanks and all the planes are in the Ukraine. And we can't just build them out right? Raytheon can't just make 100 Stinger missiles in a week. Takes them 3 or 4 years. We do not have a military right now, so we fucked ourselves over pretty bad. So I don't know. This country's downhill. It's corrupt. They don't follow any laws. They do whatever the hell they want. Now the thing is, the Republicans seem to be standing up to them and saying, "Hey, this is ridiculous. We're not going to take this." In the pool, some guy, I'm Mr. Gold, and he goes, I said, "So what are you going to?" He says, "I can't spend gold at Kroger's." And I says, "Well, what are you going to use? You can't spend the dollars there either because they're going to be worthless." And he just kind of looked at me, and he lives in this little fantasy with his head buried in the sand. Well, it'll be okay. How's it going to be okay? We've hit the iceberg. The dollar's gone. It's not like sinking. It's sunk, but you just don't realize it's sunk until all the Europeans and Russians and Chinese pull their money out and the market crashes and the bonds crash. Then you'll realize it. And until they do that, and they're very close to doing it, and I think when Russia announces BRICS is backed by gold, if I'm one of these guys that has money in the U.S. for safe haven, I'm probably going to switch it to the BRICS because it's now backed by gold. And I know I don't have a problem with gold. Keep in mind, gold has never gone to zero and never not been worth a fortune. But you can't print it, which is limited, which is why, but also you can't cheat with it either. You can't print it. You can't make, $1 trillion and just put it into thin air. You can't do that with gold. You can only have as much gold as you have. You can't print it. You can't copy it. You can't do anything. It just is there. So that's really the big key with gold, why governments don't like gold until they're in a crisis. Now everybody loves gold in Russia and China and all the European and BRICS countries, which is mostly Africa and Middle East, Saudi Arabia. They all love gold now that there's problems. But don't kid yourself. Don't think gold's only got a value when there's economic collapse. Gold always has a value. If you would get it out of COMEX in London and get it out of government control into free market, you would see the Willie Mays $75,000 card. You would see next to it gold 1 ounce, 75,000. If you let it go, because why would Willie Mays be 75,000 and gold be 2,000? Come on, doesn't make sense. So that's what you really have if you allowed the markets to operate. When somebody says, "Oh, it's supply and demand," I just laugh at these type of people. Mostly they're teachers. Well, it's supply demand. What are you drinking? What are you kidding me? It's not supply and demand. So you honestly think the demand for gold's only 2,000? Yeah, okay. Good luck with that. So by keeping the price fixed by the government, it's to derive that there's no demand for gold, which is ridiculous. So if you understand supply demand in real terms, what they're saying is this is worthless if there's no demand. But if there's demand, then it sells for more. Well, gold, so they're saying gold's worthless because there's no demand. But yet we know there's huge demand. We know all the central banks in most of the world's buying gold. So there's demand. So therefore, the price has to be higher. And that's it. So they keep price fixing it, and that'll go away. And that's my comment to Alligator is he says, well, when the dollar drops, gold will go up. It's not really gold going up, and he's missing the point there. It will go up because of breaking COMEX. Once COMEX is broken and it goes to a free market, gold goes up dramatically because it's been held down. And then when the dollar goes to zero, the Titanic has sunk, then it goes up even more. And then it's priced in gold. You want a house, it's priced in gold. So don't worry about, well, how are you going to price gold if there's no dollars? You don't need dollars to price gold. Gold is its own king. Gold really is the what do you call it? The reserve currency is really gold. It's always been gold. And only idiots don't understand that gold has a big value, which are the Keynesians, which are mostly in the U.S. and the U.K. and India. Apparently, have these retards running their their governments because they're all criminals and they all want to print the dollar, so they want to make it sound like gold's worthless. So please understand, gold has a huge value. Don't think of it like that. It's just like electric vehicles. They're all trying to sell you the shit about electric vehicles. You know, why would you want to buy one? Tell me one positive reason I'd want to buy an electric vehicle, and I can't think of one reason. And yet they keep pushing, and yet there's no market for it. They can't sell it. Tesla keeps lowering its price. Ford just lost billions of dollars. GM's going out. All these companies are going out. And then they came out with this new EPA survey of they need like 60 miles to the gallon in 2035. So if you got to meet the EPA's 65 miles to the gallon. Well, what's Ford and GM going to do? Just sit there and say, okay. And then that's American companies. So Mercedes and Toyota and Honda, they don't need that because they're not U.S. companies. And they, to sell here, I think it's mandated to the U.S. All it does is put GM and Ford out of business because they won't be able to do it, but Toyota and Honda can do it. Or an Audi, they don't need to do it because they're not U.S. companies. So again, what Biden is thinking, Biden's clearly got the stupidest economists working for him he can possibly find and finance people. I think Biden has no clue what day it is, so he just listens to somebody tells him, let's do this, and he's like, oh, okay, we'll do that. That's what you have. I just think you got a bunch of idiots running this country into the ground. Why? Either they want to run it into the ground or they're too stupid to run it. It's like trying to run a restaurant, and I see this on that Gordon Ramsay show, Kitchen Nightmares, where you got somebody who doesn't know how to run a restaurant, and in the cooking area, all the cooks, none of them know how to cook, or there's 50 things on the menu. And Gordon always comes in and says, no, we're just going to do 8 things on the menu. Some chicken, some fish, some meat. And that's all. We're not going to have 50 things on it. And I tried to do that at my last job, not at Hurley, because the guy was like, oh, we'll just please the customer. We'll have everything. And so my advice is just have 5 or 6 main things, and this is the price of them. Then you don't have to re-quote it every time, and let the guy buy instead of custom made. Let him buy that, because I'm sure they weren't charging properly for custom made things, and you had to re-quote everything, which is time and energy and cost to re-quote. Just do what Wendy's does. You want the single, it's this price. The double, it's this price. The triple, it's this price. You want chicken, you want fries, you want a Frosty, these are your 10 prices. If you want pizza, go to Little Caesars. But yet no, we want to, yeah, but you don't know how to charge for that. So you're doing customized work. You're not charging properly. Do you know what the competition is? Do you know what the market is? There's apparently a market for it, but the only reason everybody's coming to you is you're probably $10,000 cheaper and you'll do custom, but you don't charge for the custom. But because it was so unorganized, it was like Bernie Madoff, you had no idea what anything was. There was inventory you couldn't keep track of, quotes you couldn't keep track of. It was a smooth running company. So when I left, I just laughed at the CFO going, yeah, you really picked a winner here. You'll be out of business in 6 months, because I knew inflation was coming and the banks are going to charge higher interest and they're not going to make money. oh, we need somebody to learn how to run your business. Well, if you need that, you shouldn't be buying it in the first place. You buy a business that you don't need to learn how to run. So, in other words, if we took over Wendy's, it's all turnkey, right? Okay, here's the grill. You make the hamburgers. Where do you order? Here's the fries. Pricing's done by corporate. Oh, okay, yeah. We could buy a Wendy's in 1 month. Probably not even that. Okay, here's the hamburgers and the fries. Learn the time when it's more crowded than less crowded, and how to order. Make sure you have enough inventory. Pretty simple. But when you try to run a custom place, I don't even know where you get the customers from. I mean, the whole thing was ridiculously managed. So I tried to bring in Austrian economics, and the Keynesians voted me out. I'm like, fine. At Hurley, I don't have these problems. They give me spreadsheets to do and models to make, and off I go. Then I add my own little flavor, and they like it. Oh, smart idea. But that's the problem. So most people are very stupid and don't know how to run football teams and baseball teams and companies. And that's what happens, and especially governments. They don't know, they don't pick the right people, and that's why we're in the shape we're in. I just think they're idiots in charge. You got warmongers who want this war with the Ukraine. So we're fighting the Ukraine. We're fighting Russia with the Ukraine soldiers. How did that happen? Well, we'll pay Zelensky off. Here's $20 million, and you guys fight the war. What an idiot. But he was put in by some oligarch and does what he says. So he's not a leader. And Ukraine's very corrupt. And Jenna knows this, and you know it. But this is the problem with most of the world. It's very corrupt, run by the George Soros of the world, who just fuck everybody. They fuck everybody for their own profit. Like in the U.S., it's all the defense contractors making the money, and they won't end the war. I'd say, fuck you. You want to fight? You fight. You bring in your soldiers. I'm not bringing in my soldiers. But Zelensky has no backbone. Everybody's like he's the hero, or he's not a good guy. He's selling his own people out. He should be, put in prison for what he's doing. Is an atrocity. And they make Putin look like the bad guy, which I don't think he is. He's trying to not kill people. I don't know what happened with the dam. Maybe the Ukrainians blew up their own dam and made it look like the Russians. Who knows? But Putin's not. He's not going after the people in the Ukraine because they're really Russians. He doesn't want to kill his own people. So it's really interesting dichotomy. But it's run by the U.S. against Russia. It's like Alabama playing Georgia. They're using Kentucky's players. We don't want to play them. We'll use your players. It's just amazing. Anyway, I guess that's it. So whatever gold you're going to buy, I'd buy it now. That's why I sold my IRA yesterday. Fortunately, I got the money. Fortunately, I had no problems with the bank. So now Friday I can go. Gold still seems low for whatever reason. You would think these rumors of BRICS going to a gold standard or gold system would make gold rise, but not in America. So whatever you're going to do it quickly, or the FOMO, fear of missing out, because if you're going to buy at 2,000 and it goes to 10, you're going to be pretty pissed. Now, Howard, come on, it hasn't. It'll never go to 10. I'm optimistic by what I know about free markets and eBay and everything I know about football and poker is all very beneficial here in the fact that they're price fixing gold price, but the BRICS will be will free it and get it out of COMEX. Then I listened to Alligator and Egon, and they all can see it, and we all know the dollar's going out. Now, how long does that take? But it's like the Titanic. The water comes in the ship, and all of a sudden it's sunk. So when it first started happening, people probably didn't even think it was going to sink. Next thing you know, all the water rushes in, and you're on the bottom of the ocean. And I think that's what's going to happen with gold. I think here's bricks. We're going to have gold-backed currency because we want to destroy. We don't want to be. We want competition for the dollar, and the only competition we can have is gold, and therefore the price of gold must go up. Okay, what else? So COMEX can't keep 2,000 when it's at 20,000 in Russia, because then everybody runs and buys it here at 2 and sells it there at 20. So you can't have that arbitrage, it's called. So therefore they'll have to raise the price to 20. The price of gold has to go up. That's not an opinion. So that's where I make the fundamental process from, is it's price fixed. If it was at free market at 2,000, then I would be a little bit more cautious on it. But because it's price fixed at $2,000, and the free market of a Willie Mays card, 75 grand, and the free market of a Brady card's 5 million, I tend to think that the free market of gold is going to be somewhere in that, I think eventually it hits 100 grand. I think now it goes 10 to 20, and then it really starts going. And then, of course, it won't be priced in dollars. It'll be, oh, you want a house? Give me 2 ounces. And like Alligator said today, in Germany, they were just using U.S. dollars that people would get because they were Americans living there, and they were able to buy a whole subdivision for whatever, $100, because the value of the mark went to zero, basically. So if you needed money, you'd sell your assets, and then you would take whatever money you can get, and that was dollars. Well, in this case, there's not going to be a dollar you can get. You're not going to take euros, your Swiss francs, British pounds, rubles, or yuan. You can't take that because that's all the same shit. And because it's all shit, the only real money's gold. Gold's got to go so high, it's not even funny. Now, when does that happen? Oh, it won't happen now. It'll be 20 years. It'll be 10 years. Do you really want to take that risk? It's not a matter of when. You know it will happen, and that's what I keep stressing. It will happen. Do you want to be left out? Do you want to then try to buy it after it happened? Because when it happens, it's going to be the Titanic. All of a sudden, the ship's full of water. At that point, are you looking for the lifeboat, or would you get in the lifeboat when you heard it hit the iceberg going, we better get off this ship because the water's, I see water on the ground. I think I better get off now. And that's what I'm trying to do. The water's on the ground. I want to get off. So I can see what's going on. I'm buying my gold now instead of waiting until there are no more lifeboats and I better get off the fucking ship. So that's my point of it. What else can I say? Anyway, those are the big topics. Basically, we kind of know about gold. We kind of know about bricks. We kind of know about inflation. It's not going anywhere. It's only going up, which is going to drive interest rates up. We know that. So that's you can't believe anything the government says. Please don't. Why would they? All of a sudden, they're telling the truth. 9/11, yeah, the planes crashed in and there was no F-14s to fight it. Really? Where was the Air Force with the F-14s, especially after the first one hit the building? There's no fighters for the second one? And you want us to believe that it was Saddam Hussein or whoever? Give me a fucking break. Are we that stupid? Well, if the government said it, we'll believe it. I mean, please don't think like that. You've got to think anti-government to a point. Now, I want a government that is a good government. Like I want a good football coach. But if I don't get a good football coach, I'm going to knock the bad football coach. So I don't mind Sean Payton, as you know, or Coach Pete. But Dan Campbell, the Lions, whoever the Bears hired, whoever, Miami's is, these guys are idiots. So if you give me a good coach, I will say they're a good coach. But if you give me a bad coach, I'm not going to trust them. And that's how I'm saying with the government. I can't trust these idiots. And I'm not going to, if they say today's Thursday, you're going to believe it? Well, no, it's Tuesday. No, it's really Thursday because we're the government. So stuff like that you can't, there's no way inflation. And then I look at who says it. Oh, he's a Keynesian. So he's saying it. I don't know why he's saying it. He's wrong. Keynesians are wrong because they don't understand. They don't understand free markets. They don't understand Say's law. They take it as a macroeconomic. We look at it as a micro. We look at it as the person, and they look at it as the government. Theirs doesn't work. Ours works. Say's law, Adam Smith, works. And so therefore, if you can see that the guy's Keynesian, I think the guy's name was Klugman or something, or Krugman. Once you see the name and you go, is he a Keynesian? And it is, whatever he says, you can't listen to because he's wrong. Because Keynesian's been proven wrong. When I took the Masters in the mid-'90s, we knew Keynesian was wrong. The whole Keynesian thing, it's not free market. It's not Say's law. It's government control. It's communism. We know it doesn't work. Just look at after World War II, and there was East and West Germany, and West Germany was U.S. and capitalist, and it worked, and East Germany was Russian and communist, and they were poor and starving, and it didn't work. I mean, just go right to there. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, I'm pretty tired, and I think I've hit everything I can hit. Buy your gold and silver and buy it soon. Figure you got 2 weeks for bricks. I think it's on the 20th. So prepare to buy it this weekend or next weekend. But once they announce gold back current, now it's already been announced. We know it. It's just official. And they might just say, well, we're going to have currency backed by commodities. They might not use gold. But Russia and China are not afraid of Americans that they're going to do something if they come out with a gold-backed currency. And it might not be. It might be a trade currency. It might just be the currency that they trade among countries. But the fact it'll be backed by gold will raise the gold price. And that's really what we're caring about, and we want to get out of the fiat dollars. So we know these are crap. So your main focus is get out of this. And when you get out of that, the only choice is gold or silver. There's no other currency. They're all fiat. You can't go to the yen or the euro or the Swiss franc. There's nothing to go into but gold. So keep that in mind. That's your real key. All right, everybody. www.teaserking.com. A couple weeks till football. I think there's 3 preseason weeks. Then I believe a bye. August 27th, which is 3 weeks. College football, I believe, starts. So looking forward to that. I'll start talking more about college probably this weekend. Once we get the games, then we can see the teams if there's still, who changed. How's Iowa, I think, will be very good this year. Because they've went to Wisconsin, because they went to the air raid with Mordecai, SMU quarterback, and the defense that Fickle used at Cincinnati. So it's kind of like the Jets using Green Bay's offense, the Niners defense. They're going to use SMU offense with the Wisconsin defense or their Ohio State defense or whatever Fickle is using at Cincinnati. So you're combining 2 good schemes. So I look for them to be very good. Last note on college football, I hear a lot of bitching about like UCLA, USC joining the Big Ten. It's almost like they're trying to do an NFL where they're just going to have an NFC, AFC, and they break it into North, South, East, and West. There's 32 teams. In college, there's 132 teams. But your Max and your Mountain and your Sun Belt will be, I guess, smaller. I don't know how that works. and then your Big Ten and your SEC and Clemson. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work or what their idea is. It just see the problem is you'll hear Big Ten and now you got USC and UCLA. Does that make any sense? Does West Virginia playing in the Big 12 and all the Texas schools make any sense? And it really, I never understood that. Again, we're used to geography. That's how we watch college football. They got to be careful not to lose Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama, Auburn, USC, UCLA. You can't lose the big games because there's demand for them. So this will be interesting how they fuck this up. I guess we'll just wait and see, but there'll still be 132 teams. And I really don't understand if you even have the conferences or you don't. Whatever. I don't know what they're doing. They need to kind of blow it up and just do it like football. But the difference is you have too many teams. So you can't just say, well, we'll have Alabama and Auburn, and then where does Georgia go with Georgia Tech and South Carolina, North Carolina, and Clemson? And so how do you break the conference? Are you going to have 40 conferences with 4 teams in it each? Or you have 10 teams in each conference and each little geography if you're going to copy the NFL? How many teams get in the playoffs? Now you're going to 12, I think, next year, which is where you should have been 10 years ago. So this will be interesting. I love that as the excuse. Well, there's only 4 good teams they can beat, and Alabama and Clemson and and then LSU comes in, and then all of a sudden Georgia's good, and all of a sudden Clemson's not good. So it's just funny how you had, it's always going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and this, and then it's, well, wait, Burrow and LSU. Oh, wait, it's Georgia. Oh, wait, now it's Michigan. Oh, wait, now it's TCU. All of a sudden Clemson sucks. Alabama's starting to suck. How about USC and, UCLA and Utah gets fucked? So who knows what they're doing. It's a big fucking mess. Again, you're ruining a good product, and you're not quite sure it's just mismanaged. So you think there's a reason for it, and it's just you're dealing with idiots. All right, www.teaserking.com. I'm going to relax and watch some TV. And have a good night. I will be back Thursday night. Buy some gold on Friday, I'm sure. And just I advise you to buy it. You'll probably have a little window, maybe till Labor Day, where you can still get it cheap. But once people realize the Titanic's full of water and it's going down, you're going to wish you bought the gold before that happens, and the silver. So keep that in mind. Watch what's going on. See if you can get Egon and Alligator, and see if you can get new stuff. But watch this war with Russia. Russia's not going to lose, so therefore they're going to go to gold. Therefore, the gold price will really shoot. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. www.teaserking.com is where I live. If you want to email me, go there and you'll get my email, or just come with questions like Bobby always says. Bobby, have a nice night wherever you went to, and I will talk to you soon. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you very much.